Hey everybody, welcome to AutoKnerd. I'm your host Andrew Sardone, and today we're going to be talking about walk around. Now, if you could please go ahead and click that subscribe button real quick. That helps me help you in a huge way. Let's break this algorithm and let's build this channel. Help more people understand how to sell cars ethically with high profits. So today with the walk around, we're going to be talking about painting the picture. We're going to be talking about going ahead and using these 5 to 7 items that the customer gave you during your kick butt and awesome needs assessment to paint the picture and give the customer permission to buy a car. That's the thing here, is that most people, when they come in, actually I should say nearly all people when they come in, are already sold on the vehicle. So when people start to shop, again, they have multiple selections, right? People start with 3 to 5 vehicles that they want to go see, and they typically will go out and see 2 or 3 of them. Now, with this, it's all about, hey, you're sold in the unit. Now I need to go ahead and actually show you what's on this vehicle so you'll go ahead and buy the unit. So we're going to talk all about that through this particular session here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Click that subscribe button. Click that bell right next to it if you are on YouTube, and let's get this thing going. So by now working with the customer, you've learned about their life, you learned about who they are, you learned about their desires, you learned about their wants and needs on the vehicle. Awesome. When it comes down to everything that you just learned, all of your efforts that you put in, here's what your objective should be at the end of needs assessment. Once you're done with that, you should have a pretty good idea on the customer's temperament. And this is almost as critically important as knowing the features in the car. Knowing how to act around that person gives us the ability to mold ourselves to their personality type. Meaning that in this business of sales, and again, it doesn't matter what kind of sales you're in. If you are in sales, and you start to learn who the person is, you can start to adapt yourself to how they act. We do this with our friends all the time. We do it with our relatives, our family members. Sometimes it just makes life easier. But when your customer bumps into somebody that invests that time on into them, now they want to spend more time talking to that person because they feel that there's some sort of common ground there. And this is why I place a lot of emphasis on make the customer feel like family when they're coming on in. Because end of the day rolls around, your customer's going to buy from somebody they know, like, and trust, unless the deal is so good that they cannot pass it up. So with all of this information, we know the temperament of the customer, we know why they're there, what vehicle they were researching. In addition to that, we also now know how to represent those particular features that we need to sell. Meaning that when we look at these 5 to 7 items, each one of those items needs to be tailored specifically to the customer. Keep this in mind. The customer's already sold on the vehicle, or they wouldn't even want to look at that car. This is something that a lot of sales consultants just typically just let go of. This idea that, well, I got to sell the car to the customer. No. You don't need to sell the car. The car's already sold to them, right? The vast majority of the time that we don't sell the car, we gave the customer a reason to just simply not buy it. So as you're working with the customer on this, understand they've already started to take mental ownership of this thing. Now this is the time for us to give them permission to buy it. One of the areas that I relied on really heavily, and I still do this in my trainings, especially when I'm teaching walk-around classes, is when it comes to an individual's ability to paint a mental picture. A lot of people don't have that ability. Now, myself, I'm the creative type. I have a few degrees in art. It's just something that I do, and I ended up getting into the car business when I was very, very young and attempting to escape, and then I got right back on in, hence the degrees in art. But when you look at it from the perspective of somebody that is very visual like myself, there's always an image going on up here. It's like a movie reel. So when you look at it from the perspective of somebody that always has a constant movie reel going on in their head, you can imagine that it's a little difficult when working with somebody that doesn't have one going on. Well, since the vast majority of people are losing the ability to have an inner monologue, which is very sad. And the vast majority of people are not visually capable, meaning that they don't have the ability to create an image in their mind without being prompted. Now, this is a byproduct, it seems like, of a lot of short attention spans, a lot of being force-fed video all the time. So if that is the case, and the vast majority of people need things painted for them, then we got to become pretty good artists here. This means taking that list of 5 to 7 items and leveraging it, because that's the roadmap to the sale, right? The temperament of the customer dictates how to go ahead and show those items. Now, those 5 items or 7 items, as you're going around the vehicle, try as hard as you may to not waterfall on the customer. Now, waterfalling on the customer means that you start listing so many parts that are on the car that the customer just cannot keep up. And this is a super common thing. And it happens to all of us. Even the greatest sales consultants that are out there end up just falling into this rut because it's a comfort zone where you walk up to the vehicle and you start just randomly talking about some parts. A lot of the times, many sales consultants, we skip the front of the car, we skip under the hood, we try to get right to the test drive as fast as possible because we know at the end of the test drive, we can get into negotiation, but we can't skip over that big middle chunk, right? Because the needs assessment is where the closing starts, right? That's where we learn about the customer. The sales actually starts at presentation and walk around. And then when it comes down to your negotiation, of course, that is where we go ahead and we work with the customer and try to find some common ground and close that deal down. But that middle section there, we can't just start skipping over some things. So we really need to limit the number of items that we give to the customer. Giving too many of these things is what I refer to as waterfalling, where, see if you can follow me here. If you walk up to a vehicle and I just open the driver door for you and I go to sit you inside because that's the proper thing to do, right? Feel, touch, that sort of item, right? The whole buying experience needs to be, it needs to involve nearly all the senses, sans taste, right? That'd be kind of weird. But when the customer is in the vehicle, one thing that we can't do is start to go like this and see if you can remember everything I'm about to say. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, this thing has power windows, power locks, cruise control. It also has power mirrors on it. It has an auto dimming rearview mirror. At the same time, oh, hey, look at the steering wheel. You got cruise control here. You got intelligent cruise here. You have this thing over here. It looks like cruise control, not cruise control. It keeps you in the center of the lane. In addition to that, we also have some digital gauges here. If you take a look right there, your blind spot pops up there. Your navigation pops up there. And in addition to that, we also have this, this display in front of you. Appears right on the screen. It looks like virtual reality. It is awesome. It'll go ahead and give you all the pertinent information you have right down below there. In addition to that, when you take a look at your radio, it has this. The deal is that your customer is going to get lost. And this hurts. This is the Achilles heel of many sales consultants that are just walking around out there. Is that we know the cars. We have great product knowledge. But when we go to sell the vehicle, we give the customer far too much. And this is when the I'm just lookings come in. When we look at how the brain fatigues, if it has too much information, and you've been in this situation before, where you've been sitting in a class where you have been trying to just cram for a test, or you've just been sitting there kind of spacing out, but you've been reading, and then you all of a sudden go, man, you know what? I'm kind of really tired. Well, the reason that you're really tired is because your brain is devouring calories like crazy, trying to figure out how to organize all the information. So when we give a customer, let's say 30, 40, 50 things on the vehicle, because we're just walking around it going, hey, look at all the cool stuff. And I get it, right? We get super excited and we want to show the customer all the cool things. But if we get really, really into it and start giving them more than, let's say, like 8 or 9 things, all of a sudden the brain goes, whoa, what do I actually care about here? Do I care about those items, those 15 to 16 things that he or she just talked about? Or do I really care about those 3 to 5, maybe 7 items that I came in to actually see? Because sometimes going over, let's say, the 7 items that the customer came in for, and then throwing more on top of it, may actually not be needed at all in 99.9% of circumstances, because the customer doesn't need that extra incentive. They're sold in the vehicle. They just need to make sure that these 5 to 7 things are there and it works properly. So, with those 5 to 7 things, create yourself a roadmap. Every manufacturer has a different one. My preferred method is an emotional engagement type walk around, where you know that the customer is interested in the car for one reason or another. So take advantage of this. When you're at the desk with the customer and you realize that this XYZ vehicle, whichever one it is, will work for them, pull that car around. All right. Now, I have no doubt that when you go ahead and you give a walk around on a vehicle, if you only need to sell those 5 to 7 features on the car, anybody can crush it. You can make a vehicle that's the base model of something look like it's like the premium luxury model of that segment just by going ahead and selling those 5 to 7 things. Keep in mind, you don't need overkill. You are giving the customer permission to say yes by verifying that the items that they wanted to see in the first place are actually on this vehicle and that they will work beautifully for them. So, pull the vehicle around. If the vehicle, let's say the customer wanted, the mid-range vehicle would work best, or the base model would work best, simply based on the fact of what the customer told you that they desired in the vehicle, then simply go ahead and pull around one of those models. Don't pull around the fully loaded model. And the reason is that if you pull around the fully loaded model first, this is just as bad as letting the customer pumpkin patch and walk out on your lot and pick out whatever vehicle they wanted. If you go ahead and you pull the vehicle around, the customer doesn't have the ability to have all the other visual stimuli impacting their thought process at this point in time. Keep in mind, if most people can't come up with the visual themselves, they start to hunt for the visual. So if I'm looking at the vehicle going, I don't really know. And then all of a sudden I start looking at, let's say, the vehicle next to it or the vehicle on the other side, or maybe over towards your used lot a little bit. All of a sudden I start shopping for my own car again. The time that we spent in needs assessment at the desk is almost completely eradicated. It really didn't matter at that point in time. This is the time for you to select the vehicle for the customer, right? Now, I know if any of you out there are listening to this, and you're not in the business and you're shopping for vehicles, you're thinking to yourself, well, why is this person saying go ahead and select the vehicle for the customer? I should be selecting my own car. No, I completely agree. You should be. But the deal is that is our storeroom, the lot. Right. And by going ahead and running around the storeroom, well, the prices are different on everything. And it's not that we don't want you to see the fully loaded model. It's just a lot of the times the fully loaded model is inappropriate for the average person's pocketbook. And the mid-range, the low-end model, or base model, has everything that you're going to need. So, and desire, by the way. So when it comes to this, pull the vehicle around for the customer. When you pull the vehicle around, make sure it's not around any other vehicle that looks like it. So if you rolled around in the boxy one, pull it around by the round ones, or the big one, pull it around by the small ones, so the customer doesn't have the ability to go ahead and go, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Right? We don't want the squirrel effect to take over our deal and have the customer driving 4 or 5, 15 cars. It doesn't help us out at all. So you pull the vehicle around. As it's there, walk the customer up to the car. Introduce them to the vehicle. Now, there's a reason why vehicles are designed with almost human-type features in the front. Take a look at them, right? The grill's in a particular place because of where it needs to be. The lower grill's in a particular place because it's more like a mouth. And the headlights are there because they're more like eyes. They're easily relatable to all of us on the planet. So introduce the customer to the vehicle. If they're a luxury person, point out some luxury aspect of it, right? Keep in mind that when people start shopping for vehicles, usually it comes down to the fact that they like the image of the vehicle and they can see themselves driving it. Pump that up a little bit, right? Now, once you've done that and you showed the customer, hey, look at this luxury piece or that or whatever is going to pull on that heartstring of happiness that gets them to go, oh, yeah, that is amazing. Keep in mind, our job is to up the customer's emotional state so they get to the point where it becomes very difficult to say no. So now the customer's looking at the vehicle. They like the image on the outside. It's what brought them in the first place. Have them highlight a couple of things. Hey, what do you like about it? Right? Have them start to tell you what they like and build those items up. Right? But introducing new items at this point, if it doesn't really impact the customer, I would refrain from doing it. Reason being, you start implementing new items there, all of a sudden the customer's going to go, well, I kind of don't know if I really want that. So Just implement what they've asked for at this point in time. Now, as you're going around and you're showing these items, it might be really difficult once you get to the driver position to open that door and only show one thing, because that might be all that the customer wants to see at that point in time. Remember, there's a test drive coming. So, and we will talk about test drive in the next episode or two. But as you're going ahead and you're walking them through that, find that one item, right, for that position. So let's say it's, your customer is in the driver's seat and they want to see something along the lines of, let's say, like a heated seat or something along those lines. Show them where the button is, have them push the button, and sit there long enough until they feel it actually working, right? I know it's a very basic example, but as their customer is sitting there, you can have some dialogue about the vehicle. Just in general, the customer will ask you questions. And if they ask you questions, it doesn't mean that you're showing new items and voluntarily giving extra information. You're following the customer's lead at this point. So the customer's like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's that? If they're inside the vehicle, that's fine. If they're outside the vehicle looking at other vehicles and the squirrel effect's taking hold, that's not good. But once they're in the vehicle and they're excited, keep pumping that excitement up. All right. So now, once you've shown that item, and the customer's like, "Oh, this is great," get them out of the vehicle. Okay. Take them to the next position, usually the driver's side rear door. Now, at this point, we knew that their kids and their dog were going to be an issue. This is where you start to paint the picture for them. So ask the customer, hey, when you're leaving to take your kids out, are things just absolute mayhem in the morning and, just life in general? You just want to get the kids in so you can get to work and get on with things? Oh, yeah. Everybody's going to say yes to a question like that. Okay, great. Now, here's the deal. In the morning, how many people are in the car? Well, we got everybody in the car. Myself, 3 kids. I got, the dog's always in the front passenger seat because that's where the dog takes over. All right, great. Now, as your kids are in the car, what is the thing that drives you batty the most? Well, as I told you, those little digital babysitters. Okay, cool. Look at all the USB ports we have around here. Your kids can plug in, they can get things done. Who knows? Maybe the car has a hotspot in it. You can simply go ahead, enable that hotspot, and they can continue to get their homework done as you go ahead and drive them to school, or if you're taking them to work, drive them to work, wherever they go. Also, as you're painting this picture, start to drop in some elements of benefit along the way, right? Because it's not just like, hey, here's the feature and here's the function, right? The feature is quite simply, hey, here's its name. The function is, hey, here's what it does, right? What it physically is doing. Okay, and that is critical to understand, because as these cars become more technologically advanced, we have a lot of people that are becoming a little confused about what things actually do, right? And then you have the benefit with, hey, here's how it's actually going to change your life, right, for the better. So with this, when you're looking at the inside of the car, hey, here's some of the benefits. Your sanity is going to be much nicer in the morning, simply because your kids are going to be able to engage with whatever device they have inside the vehicle. And whether they're watching something, finishing their homework, catching up, whatever it might be, you will be able to navigate more safely through heavy traffic, through the pickup line, less of the "are we there yet," less fighting, more sanity. So with this, by painting the picture and showing the customer, hey, I want you to imagine that your kids are sitting in that seat. All right, I'm imagining. Okay, now imagine that they're quiet. They're never quiet. Well, imagine now that they have the ability to. You bought them Bluetooth headphones, they have their devices, they're all jacked in, and now they're not saying a word. They are clicked into whatever you turned on for them. Oh, I like this. Yeah, now imagine a 12-hour trip like that, where you and your significant other, or you and your dog, are on a nice long trip, and the kids are actually quiet in the back, and the only time they pipe up is when they need to stop and go to the bathroom, which is probably still going to be once every 5 seconds. No automaker has found a solution for that one yet. Deal is that now the customer is seeing the image, and if that image is positive, and if they're seeing that, oh, okay, I can relate to that, I want that. Now, when you've put 5 to 7 of those positive images into their brain, and they're visually seeing them inside of their head, and now they can go ahead and give themselves permission. This car works for me. I see it here. So, with this week, your little bit of homework is this. First off, click the subscribe button. Helps me help you. In addition to that, if you're getting something out of this, why are you subscribed as it is? But If you could, please hit that for me. And then hit the little bell too so you get those little notifications. But with this little homework, go out, first off, make the customers happy, as per the usual. In addition to that, practice painting that picture. Practice getting the customer to tell you exactly how something works so you can use that on your presentation when you go ahead and you give the customer the visual on how the vehicle actually will fit into their lives better. Because keep in mind, they're shopping for those 5 to 7 things to improve their life. Your vehicle just happens to have it and they're already sold in your car. Okay? So that's it for this week. Hope you got something out of it. Again, click that subscribe button. Help me crack this algorithm. Let's make that work. Again, this is Andrew from AutoKnerd. I will see you next week. If you're not part of the YouTube channel yet, head on over to YouTube real quick. This is for the audio people. Head on over to YouTube. I'm going to have some pretty cool technical stuff going on here rather shortly, hopefully this week. You guys rock. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.